Hey, what's going on, everybody? Nick Sands from A1 Autobody here, and today I want to talk to everybody about speed.
I am speed.
Speed is the thing that everybody is concerned about. You see more articles talking about shaving, minutes off of your time. You hear more people saying owners want you to be faster, techs want to be faster, especially flat rate. The bottom line is people feel like they can earn more money if they go as fast as they possibly can. I'm here to give you another perspective. I am not the fastest person out there as far as, body work, assembly, disassembly, taping, any of it. I'm not the fastest. Nobody's going to look to me and say, boy, Nick is an absolute dynamo. Because I'm not. I'm really, and it's not that I'm not lazy. It's not that I don't move quickly. It's just that, for whatever reason, my brain just doesn't work that way. I can't rush stuff. I kind of have to do it at my own pace. When I try and rush stuff, I just don't like to do it. And it honestly doesn't save me much time. It really just frustrates me. And then, I'm just in a bad mood. So I don't rush. I don't go, and I'm not very fast. It's something I've accepted. And I think that some people can accept it, because what I've done is I've done some other things that can make up for that. That maybe some of those people who are those super fast guys out on the floor don't do. And I've been able to, I would say on average, with these things, I've been able to not only make myself at least as fast as everybody else overall across like all the work that we do. So like instead of, I may not be the fastest on this truck or that truck, but across, the 5, 10, 15 trucks that I work on every week, I'm going to be on average the same speed or faster than everybody else. The way that I have done that is basically, instead of trying to make myself faster, I've tried to cut out as much wasted time as I possibly can. So it's not about me going quicker or going through the steps at the absolute, top speed that I can. What it's about is it's about taking my time and doing the job right the first time. So that way I don't have to go back and I don't have to overthink things. I break it down for myself so that it's very automatic. So basically, I've broken it down into 3 items I think everybody will find use for. The first of those is I like to maximize my organization. So what I mean by that is when I am working on a truck, so this is the first thing I noticed when I was kind of looking around the shop and seeing what people are doing. The first thing I noticed is everybody's always looking for tools. Everybody is always misplacing tools. Tools are never where they're supposed to be. People just have a really hard time keeping track of their tools because, you're doing so much stuff. It's pretty standard that you're going to put your socket down on a tire. Those damn 10 millimeter sockets are always going missing, right? You're going to put it down on a tire. You're going to put it down somewhere weird. And you're going to forget where it is. And you're going to have to spend time looking for it and blah, blah, blah. The way that I've been able to cut that out is when I bring a truck into the shop, what I like to do is I set up a table. And this table, the only thing that goes on this table is the tools I'm using for the job I'm doing. Nothing else, no parts go on the table. I don't put any parts bins on the table. I don't put my drink on the table. I don't put my phone on the table. I don't put anything on this table except for the tools I am using. When I get a tool, I go to the tool table, as it will now be referred to. I go to the tool table, I get the tool I need, go to the part of the truck that I'm working on, be it a hood, whatever, use the tool. When I finish with it, it doesn't matter how high up on a ladder I am. It doesn't matter, what else I have in my hand. The first thing I do when I am able is I go back and I put the tool right back on that table. I never put the tool down anywhere else except for maybe in my pocket for a brief period of time, and then immediately back on the table. So when I first started doing this, my dad is actually the one who told me to do this. So when I first started, I thought, boy, that's stupid. You're going to waste so much time walking back and forth to the table. I spend way less time walking back and forth to the table than I do looking for tools that I've misplaced. It sounds like it's not going to save you any time. It sounds like it's going to take more time. I can promise you that this is a huge time saver for everybody. You don't even realize how much time you spend looking for tools until you do this, and all of your tools are always available to you. I'd 150% suggest everybody start doing this. If you're already doing this, then I would love to have you comment and just let me know that it's awesome. The next thing that I do, I notice a lot of people when they're making their parts bins for their hardware, some people bag them. We use like tackle box. They're like this big. They're tackle boxes. And what I noticed is people weren't separating things. So they weren't, maybe like in one bin of the tackle box, they would put all the parts for the door, for the driver's side door. And then in another one, they put all the parts for the passenger side door. Then in another one, they put all the parts for the hood. What I do is I will, like, let's say I take off a door handle. All of the hardware, even if it's just one screw, goes in its own individual bin with a marking that says door handle. If, it doesn't matter what it is. If it's big, if it's like a mirror or something, and there's 5-6 larger bolts, it all goes into one bin. It gets its own thing. All of the parts are individualized instead of clumping them all together and then having to sort through them. When you're sorting through them, a lot of times, you pick something up, you put it in the wrong bin, things get misplaced, whatever. By breaking it down super simple, I don't have to think about it. I just can grab them and go. I even go so far as if there's like a special order that things need to go in, I'll actually label the order that they need to go in. And I'll make notes on a little, sheet of paper if stuff's, bolts are broken, those kinds of things. That way you don't spend a lot of time thinking about it and, with misplaced hardware, that kind of stuff. You don't spend a lot of time dealing with that. You can just grab your stuff out of the labeled bin and you can get it on the truck. That isn't, again, on smaller jobs, that's not going to save you a lot of times. On huge jobs, when you have, 100 pieces of hardware, 200 pieces of hardware, you're going to save yourself a ton of time not having to dig through all your hardware and try and figure out what nut goes for what bolt goes for what. Again, seems silly, seems like, it's a waste of time because you're spending all this time writing down the cards or writing down. We have like little sheets of paper that we put in each bin. Seems like it's going to be a bigger waste of time. Again, I can guarantee you if you do it and you add it into kind of your routine, you will notice that it makes a very obvious speeding up of your jobs. You'll just notice that you're finding less time being frustrated, you're spending less time thinking, you're spending more time actually doing the job. So for someone who is really fast, it might not matter so much. That organization, they can lose their thing, they can lose a socket and they can go find it. And, because they're very fast, they can just make up the time later on. That's just not me. I don't like to work like that. I don't like feeling like I'm in a massive rush all the time. And so by doing this, I'm able to kind of negate that, be faster myself, and just as fast as other guys who aren't taking the time to label everything, who aren't taking the time to make sure their tools are where they need to be. And I can be just as fast as them. I'm also less stressed. The next thing I like to do is I like to minimize my mistakes to, as small as I can possibly make them. I try not to make any mistakes because mistakes, those are the things that really kill you. Even a small mistake like forgetting to, plug in a bulb or just something tiny, putting stuff in the wrong order, that's a huge one. If there's an order that things need to go on and you do that wrong, and now you have to take that whole thing apart to put something on that you should have done in the first place, that is going to kill your time. You're going to be spending 2 times as long doing that. So if you're already very fast, again, it doesn't matter because you can pull it apart, you can put it back together, pull it apart, put it back together. I'm not that fast. By making sure that the things go on in the right order, I can make sure that I'm not having those issues. Same thing with sanding. When I sand something, after I'm done sanding it, it's done. On smaller jobs, it's not going to matter so much, right? On a fender or whatever, on a car. On a truck, if I'm sanding a dump truck, and I miss a spot and I don't notice until the end when I blow it off, now I have to go and fix that spot. And then if you compound that over the entire dump truck and there's 50 or 60 spots that got missed that you couldn't see under the dust or whatever because you're creating so much dust, it's very easy to make holidays. It's not a big deal. Everybody does it. But once you blow it off at the end and now you thought your truck was done, you have an hour of cleanup basically to do. You need to go back over everything you already sanded. Again, huge time suck. If you just blow it off as you go, take 5-10 minutes after you, or not even, take 2 minutes after you're done sanding an area. I usually sand like a 6 foot by 6 foot section or whatever. I figured out a way to section it off, blow it off when I'm done, go over those spots that you're inevitably going to miss. It's fine. Everybody does it. But you go over them as you go, and then you don't have to go back at the end and go over the whole thing. Search the whole truck for these spots. God forbid you put your tools away, you put your DA away, and now you have to go get it back out, run an airline. I mean, the whole thing can just be completely stopped by just doing the job right the first time. Another big one is taping. When you tape something, it may take a little longer, but if you just take your time and tape it so that it's sealed all the way, you don't have to clean off overspray at the end. A lot of tapers don't realize it because they're not the ones who have to clean it off, but when they blow through a job really fast, taping, and then they never have to see that truck again, the guy who's untaping it has to take a bunch of time to try and clean off all the crappy overspray that got all over it because he left a little pinhole somewhere in the truck. Just tape it right. Do the things that you're supposed to do. Back tape. Spend a little extra time making sure, going over the whole thing, checking it. If you're working on a cab of a truck, maybe put 2 rags. Make sure your seams are overlapped far and then tape down. All this stuff. It's tiny, tiny little things, but at the end, right, you save yourself 5 minutes on taping, 10 minutes on taping, but then you have to take an extra hour to clean the truck off. And that sucks for everybody, right? And you save no time. And really, you just made more work for everybody except for you because you didn't want to. Or maybe you made more work for yourself if you taped it. But a lot of tapers don't have to clean it up afterward. Anyways, you just made if you save 5 minutes taping, but then you have to spend an hour cleaning the truck of the overspray, you didn't save any time. In fact, you screwed yourself, 55 minutes. So making sure your jobs are done appropriately, minimizing those mistakes. And don't get me wrong, I make mistakes. Everybody does. But I really, really try to make less mistakes than everybody else. Lights, anything electrical, make sure it works before you take it off. If you take something off that was already broken and you didn't check it, you have no idea. And now you got to try to spend 45 minutes trying to see why it's not working when you plug it back in. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. When if you had just turned the lights on, I literally did it the other day. That's why I'm using it as an example. If I had turned the lights on before I started, I would have known that the lights weren't working. And then I wouldn't have had to spend 45 minutes to determine, that they weren't working when they came in the shop. So it didn't matter. I had spent all this time trying to find this problem that I had. But if I had just turned the lights on to begin with, I wouldn't have had an issue with it at all. So those are the 2 big ones. The third one I would definitely suggest doing, this one's a little bit more subtle, is to watch people who are already good at what you want to be good at. If you watch people, you can see them doing things that they can't articulate, right? So like people who have been doing something for a long time who are really good at something, they do things subconsciously that they don't realize that they're doing. I've been trying to think of a good example of this. But it really is, you have to just watch someone who's very good at what they do. And you can see the things that they're doing like, I'm trying to think. I don't know. I can't it was a long day. And again, I probably do, a dozen things that make it easier for myself that other people could look at. And they could pick up on that and then they could use it, right? So like if you just watch, you'll understand better than me trying to explain it to you if you just watch someone who's very good at what they do. Because when you watch them, you'll see little kind of subtleties that they do, little things that they do that just make a big difference. For instance, sanding. When I'm sanding, I hit especially on a dump body, I'll hit the corners first because you can't get the corners with your DA. You have to use it by hand. So I hit them by hand first. This saves me a bunch of time because I only have to DA up to the spot where my hand was. I don't have to DA all the way in. So I can save a lot of time doing little stuff like that where you know your DA is not going to fit. If you just hand sand it first, then you can DA up to it. It just saves you, again, it's going to save you 3, 4, 5 seconds. But when you compound that over 200 or 300 times on a dump truck, you're starting to save yourself this time that everybody's so concerned with. So yeah, those are kind of my 3 big things. That's maximize my organization by keeping my tools all in one area, and by over-labeling my parts bins and just really making sure I separate everything. Another note on that is marking left and right, like what's the left, what's the right, especially on stuff that looks the same, like for instance, like rear wheel covers that go over 2 tires, right? Those look the same front and back, but they're not always the same to put on. If you just mark left and right and which side's the front, you know how it goes on. And you won't be fighting it trying to figure out why this doesn't fit right. It's because it's not on right. It's just hard to tell because the holes are in the wrong spot. So maximizing your organization, over labeling parts bins, minimizing your mistakes, that's taping, whatever it is. You can save yourself so much time just not, think about how much time you save just not having comebacks. Just having, never having something come back for having a light that doesn't work, or having something, whatever it is. Make sure your doors work correctly. The passenger door, making sure the windows work, making sure these things work. Because if that truck goes out and the window didn't work, and then it comes back in 2 weeks, now you have to pull that whole door apart to try and figure out where you screwed up. Stupid. You will waste more time doing stuff like that than if you just do it right the first time. So minimize your mistakes. That's probably the biggest one. The third one is just to learn from the people around you and to copy them. Again, with taping, another good one is I watched a guy I work with, the way he back tapes a specific area. It's inside the dump truck. It's not inside the dump truck. It's like on the headboard of the dump truck where a lot of times the piston will go up in there. You back tape that area, and then I used to do it differently. It's hard to explain because it's like just something that you do. But the way that he was able to tape that area was different than the way I was doing it. And I noticed that he was a lot faster at it. So I watched him. Now I just do it that way because I know it's way faster. It works way better. And I'm saving myself a bunch of time doing it that way. Especially for someone who isn't an all-around person like me, who's only have to worry about either prepping or taping or painting. It's even easier to save yourself time there because you can get so good at it, you're going to get to practice it so much. So just, focusing on those 3 things, learning from the people around you, maximizing your organization, minimizing your mistakes. And you can save yourself a ton of time. And you will find yourself less stressed worrying about time constantly. You'll also find that the consistency of your work is better. So, a lot of times people who are rushing, one job will come out amazing, another job will come out subpar, another job will come out good, then you have another amazing job, then another good job, then better, slightly better, and then like a little below average. It's all over the place because they're rushing, they're constantly rushing. When you do it and you take your time, and instead of focusing on going faster, you focus on being better, you'll find that the consistency of your work always comes out the same. And that's more important than, just trying to do everything as fast as you possibly can. And you'll be happier. You'll just enjoy your job more. And that's really what it's all about. So that's my hot take. If you're just getting started, if you're just getting started, this may not help you so much. I'm having a really hard time right now. Or I guess it will. Yeah, no, it will. It's just something to keep in mind now. But this is going to help people later on who again are just constantly feeling that time pressure. You will save more time going slow, taking your time and doing your job right than you will ever save trying to rush and save yourself time. All right. Anyways, I hope someone found that helpful. I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you soon.